Hey everybody, happy Monday. Hope you guys are all having a great time. If you guys didn't get to tune in this weekend, there was a $2 million prize pool for the Gamers8 Tournament that we've been covering briefly over the past few days, and it finally got to a conclusion. In today's video, we're going to break down basically 3 or 4 things. Number one, just overall thoughts, talk about my experiences because I did help cast some of these. Kind of go over the format, kind of just a quick like TLDR of like, hey, this is what to expect. We'll then break down the groups. There's 4 groups, 6 teams in each. We'll go through that pretty quickly, which will give us our qualified teams. The top 8 then played on Saturday and Sunday, which we're then playing in the playoffs. So we'll cover overall thoughts, general things with all the groups, then the playoffs. So with that said, let's get straight into it. A couple things to take in consideration. It was a 4-day event, which had a ton of different matches. There was 24 teams that were either invited or played through qualifiers to get in there. Also, $2 million prize pool. First place taking $500,000. For those that are unaware how much money that is, that's like winning 5 out of the 9 regionals in the RLCS this year. But you're getting all of the money for the entire regional. If you win an RLCS regional this year, you got $30,000. And they got $500,000 for winning the whole... insane. The last place team got $15K. And that's still half of winning all of RLCS regional. It's absolutely absurd how much money was involved. So to explain this quickly, obviously all the teams on display, there's 24 of them all over the world. 6 from MENA, which was really cool. There was a bunch of different areas. 1 OCE, 1 SAM. You get the point. But what was unique about this in the format itself is that it was a crew battle where all the odd games played were 3v3s, kind of like a palate cleanser. And then all the even games are either a 2v2 or a 1v1. And the deciding factor of that is whoever lost the previous game got to pick what the next one was, as long as it hadn't been used previously. So pretty cool stuff there. In the group stage, which is the first 2 days, there was 36 matches, and I casted half of them. It was pretty crazy. There was an A stream and a B stream where we alternated, where like one stream would cover the A and C groups, and then the other stream would cover the B and D, and then we flip-flop those the next day. The only issue with the B stream is that there was only 3 of us. It was supposed to be just myself and Spaceman, and that is impossible to cast 8 series and then 10 the next day. Luckily, Corelli came and hung out with us. Massive shout-outs to Corelli, Spaceman, as well as production and everybody else that was behind the scenes on that one, because it was a very, very long 2 days. We ended up working like 19 hours or something like that of like on broadcast time, maybe more potentially, in 2 days. It was brutal, to be honest, but a lot of fun. So those green room conversations are some of my favorite moments in life. On the other side of things, though, talking about group stages and stuff, you're talking the ability to see not just international competition, but international competition in a point where you're seeing like the 6th seed from a minor region going up against a like top 8 from North America or something to that extent. Like it wasn't just like what we get in RLCS where it's the top of the top. You got to see some of that depth really provide some context and some really big highlights across the board. 2 major overarching things was the fact that not everybody had their full rosters, so a lot of players were on loan. Not just the whole concept of like endpoint borrowing Archie from Semper. It was like G2 was using Mist because JNaps couldn't attend. You saw some teams like Anka, which were just a melting pot of players that came together. Even though their 3v3 wasn't good, their 2v2 and their 1v1s were really good. So overall, the players wanted it to be as competitive as possible, which I talked about in previous videos about how 3v3s, they wanted to be the big decider. That's why a majority of the games would always be ended with a 3v3. But the cool thing about it was just the fact that we got to see something different. We got to see the ability for a lot of talent to showcase their individual ability. And some who had never played one before arguably have conversations of being, if not top 3, top 5, but one of the best players in the world. We'll get to that. So really cool stuff. I'm going to go through the groups really quickly and just kind of give overall thoughts. Group A and Group C were covered on the A stream on day 1, which was Thursday. In Group A was Luminosity, Detonator, Complexity, Twisted Minds, and then G2 and Guild got a nod. We knew Guild was going to be pretty dang solid simply because of CRR and his additions to 1s and what they've been doing over there. We also knew Complexity, very, very solid in this format as well. Luminosity felt like they heated up more and more towards the end. Like their offense was really slow and they played really passive, but as they got more games in over the course of the days, they started being way more intense in their offense, and it looked a lot better. Detonator, surprising, very disruptive, a lot of really good things. The only issue is they're still outclassed, and that's not a dig at them in any capacity. It's just they, talent-wise, do not have the same level of talent as some of these top-tier teams. Same can be said about Twisted Mind. So some of these matches are very close. They do go very, very close. And don't let 3-0s fool you. There is some matches that do not tell the story like that, but Detonator was very impressive to see their change in just a split. Like you're talking, we saw them in winter, we didn't see them in spring, we see them here, and they looked actually really dang good. So really impressed by them. But it is Complexity and Guild that move on, just the stronger all-around team. In Group B, we had Rogue versus Team Secret, Heat versus Anka. If you guys don't know Heat, this is the former Juicers roster. Juice was not able to show up, so they were using Reziers, who is... I talked about Cash being one of the most sought-after free agents. Reziers is probably that one now after this tournament. Unbelievable performance from him. You then had Endpoint and Space Station with the first round buys. And things went as expected early on. You did end up seeing Space Station and Endpoint in that upper bracket final, which Space Station with Daniel all around very well built, I would say, for this kind of format with 1s, 2s, and 3s. So they ended up progressing through. And then Heat made a crazy run in the lower bracket, going through Secret, Rogue, and Endpoint. So Heat was this like underdog Cinderella story, which was really cool. So they did really, really well. In Group C, then, we had Semper versus F16. If you don't know F16, know them and love them. In particular, Rawas and Clears. They are two 15-year-old twins that are extremely talented. And that's not to discredit Bazil. Again, really tough. Their numbers are from, like, Latin that don't really translate over. So, like, we have to... Again, my brain is mush. I, as you can tell, touched grass a little too hard today, so I'm super burnt. And I've got a really bad headache, so we're just powering through. But really, really solid team in F16. Up against Semper, you had LAWL versus Pirates XD, which is cool that we get to see SSA exposure. And then you had FaZe and Furia with your first round buys. Overall, a lot of teams playing really, really well. It was tough to see that not everybody can progress through. I think Semper put up a really good fight against FaZe in that lower bracket, but primarily you get to see exposure to MENA teams. LAWL played really, really well, so did F16. F16 beating FaZe Clan shocked a lot of people because Rawas put up 10-3 1v1 on First Killer, which everybody's like, wait, what? But if you've watched Rawas in the past, then you would know that he's pretty dang good. So that was really cool. As for Furia, Furia does not have a lot of experience, and Jan ended up beating Fahad, and Jan just arguably was having like this crazy MVP run along with Razebull over on Complexity. Which was really cool because Furia ended up beating F16 in 5. We got to see Furia versus Complexity in the playoffs, which everybody was ecstatic about. On the lower side of the bracket, very close fights back and forth. But FaZe started hitting a hot streak, looking really, really solid, and they ended up beating F16. But all 1-goal games except for the 3v3 at the very end. Or the 3v3s in general, FaZe definitely looked like a more solid and more experienced team, which really gave them the nod. Same could even be said about Furia. So... again, it was awesome to see that we got to watch a team that wasn't able to field in the RLCS actually come out and compete and do as well as they did. But FaZe and Furia, the ones that progressed through. We then get to our last group in Group D. You've got All Mid versus Gladiators, Renegades versus 0-1, another main team, and then Team Falcons, which was the favorites for a lot of people, and Dignitas up in that first round bye. Gladiators, super disruptive in their match against All Mid, ended up upsetting there, which was really cool to see. 0-1 playing tough and getting Renegades down. 0-1 also a lot of talent on. It's Masin, I forget how you say his name, I apologize. AMS, and then Zazonix. Really talented. Masin really impressed me when I watched them play in MENA for RLCS. And then there's also, I forget how you say his name. It's like NWPO, or Nobo, I think. I forget how you pronounce it. But there's a lot of really young, talented kids in MENA. Like next year, MENA is going to be brutal. Easily my favorite region to watch right now, if I have to be honest about it, which is really, really cool. So looking forward to that. But yeah, it was a tough fight across the board. Renegades does end up beating Gladiators in that lower, which was cool. They ended up going up against a strong 0-1 team who actually upsets there. And then upsets Dignitas as well. Falcons looked as dominant as ever. Didn't look like they were slowing down anytime. Also, the fan base locally, big fans of the Falcons, rightfully so. They are the favorites. But Dignitas losing was actually a pretty big surprise after how they looked when we casted them on the first day, because they did look very, very solid against 0-1. So other than that, we then get into our playoffs. We got Guild versus 0-1, Space Station versus FaZe, Furia, Complexity, and Falcons and Heat. Guild 0-1 went as expected, I would say. I think Guild in totality as a 1s, 2s, and 3s looks really damn solid. And they put together a complete game. Still very close games. 1-goal games in a couple of those too. But CRR and Dorito as a duo is actually pretty dumb. So really fun watching them play. They looked really dang strong. You then saw FaZe and Space Station, and FaZe just tends to have Space Station's number. I don't know. It was interesting to just see FaZe in particular really come together. It seems like a lot of these really solo-heavy mechanical teams are starting to simplify. It's what Dignitas looks good at doing when they aren't going for crazy mechanics all the time. They just simplify their gameplay. Fundamentals, good passes, working the field, spreading out, challenging right. A lot of that stuff is where FaZe went really well, but the one game where Space Station won, I think, in the series was AJ. AJ ended up playing once because he had just been playing it more. So you saw a lot of teams where during practice, they would take one player. Hey, you dedicate to ones. These two will dedicate to 2v2s. But a lot of times it actually got mixed up. You would see numerous times where teams would actually just field every iteration in 2s, or multiple different players would try it on 1s. But yeah, FaZe just looking solid. They ended up going in, punching until Championship Sunday. For Furia and Complexity, Furia looked unstoppable again. Complexity did put up a really tough fight at times, but just a back and forth affair. Jan is a goat. If you don't have him as an argument of like top 3 in the world right now, I'm very surprised, because Jan is absolutely insane. For a guy that has never played ones and is looking better and better and better at it, like, you may have found a new ones main, and I hope more show matches from Johnny Boy with him involved, because Jan is nuts. So good and talented at the game, especially for someone who doesn't play ones. Crazy stuff. We then got Falcons and Heat, and Heat did put up a really good fight, and a lot of credit given to those players. Raziers in particular, keeping it super close against probably one of the best 1v1 players in the world in TRK, or Turk. But Turk's nuts. All the focus on Ahmad and Khaled, and Turk just continues to surprise me. So crazy stuff there. Really, really solid fight, but Falcons does win it in 6, which then brings us to Championship Sunday. We've got 2 semifinals and a grand final. And first up, Guild and FaZe Clan, and Guild just says, yeah, no big deal. And they win 4-0, 2-1, 1-0, 2-1, 6-5. Again, this is what we're talking about. They don't really tell this story. There's a lot of time when you watch these that it may be a sweep, but every game is a 1-goal game. It's super close. It comes down to the wire. There's 2 overtimes. This was a fight. It doesn't really show, and I'm excited to rewatch these on stream. I'll be watching these tomorrow on stream, or technically today on Monday. Twitch.tv/Lawler. We stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. Come hang out with me. We'll be rewatching these matches because they're absolutely incredible. And I want to really like get into them, because I didn't get to watch them as closely as I wanted to, because I was out in the sun all day. And I've only seen like highlights and kind of big moments. But Guild looked just one step ahead. It felt like FaZe was playing catch up, which was pretty crazy considering how well FaZe played in the previous 2 days. So well played by Guild. On the other side, this is the one that caught me off guard. I went on a lazy river all day, was sitting out in the sun. I get into the car, look at my phone, and then I see like, oh, Fury and Falcons went to 7. That's pretty crazy. And then people started replying to my tweet, and we're like, yeah, and it was a reverse sweep. What? This one I'm surprised actually by, because it's a reverse sweep in a series that has a lot of like tactical timeout potential, like Palin Cleanser with those 3v3s, like mixing up game modes. A lot of people concerned that they decided to go 2v2s in game 6 instead of another 1v1, but I think they are required to alternate. Furia was feeling pretty damn confident with Jan in 1v1s, and they lost that. So it was very surprising for them not to go back to that, because they went 1v1 in game 2, 2v2 in game 4, and then because they can alternate between others, Falcons decided to go back to a 2v2, and they actually lost. So really crazy to see, because the last time they played 2v2s, they didn't score. A lot of people kind of criticizing that one, but again, spur of the moment, how you feeling, how things are going, and that's the way it is. So Furia, a reverse sweep to Falcons in the semifinals, and at that point everybody's like, it's done. Like, Falcons wins. Oh, just kidding. It's Furia. Furia wins the whole thing. It's over. Nobody can beat them, and they proved that. Grand finals, Furia 4-0, looking dominant. Again, some close matches, 2 1-goal games, but Furia 2 back-to-back top 6 in regional or in majors, both in winter and spring, and they look like they're getting and playing their best Rocket League right at the perfect moment 2 weeks before Dallas. So Furia, Vamos indeed, looking absolutely stellar. Incredible. I'm really excited to go back and watch those series tomorrow, but that is going to do it for me. I appreciate you guys all coming and hanging out and watching the recap. I'm going to go get some food because I am dying and I don't want to take like too much more of your time. But yeah, crazy results from Gamers8. $2 million prize pool. Congratulations to all the competitors. Very awesome experience. I'm also thankful for being able to cast and be part of it. I'm trying to leave politics and all that kind of stuff out of it. But yeah, crazy but I've got people in my apartment now, so I got to go before they come ruin this video. So, as always, if you guys do enjoy the content, thumbs up, subscribe, notifications, and a lot of World Championship coverage coming up just because it's approaching quickly. So, wild cards, all that kind of stuff. Let me know if there's certain ways you guys would like me to do recaps or kind of some content related to the World Championship coming up. Let me know down below, and I'll see if I can throw a couple of those ideas into videos. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.